Hey guys, I'm probably gonna be tweeting about this, putting it on my YouTube. I'm just recording right now. I did a VOD review with Munchlax earlier. I put a tweet out and said, hey, I'm starting to get into Hades. If you want me to review your speedrun and just go over, some basic stuff, because that's, what I'm qualified to do, just kind of basic speedrunning stuff. I can, kind of do a VOD review, give you some tips. So he submitted this. He did any heat in-game time in 14:14. So just for some perspective, for some people who are starting out on Hades, when you're just starting to go for speed, one of the big hurdles for people is getting a sub 15 minute time, and then it kind of goes down, right? If you're consistently getting sub 15, even, with kind of some bad RNG, you kind of want to start moving to like sub 12, sub 11, sub 10. Right now, I don't have like a top 10 in-game time world record or anything, but I am very consistently getting times between 8 and 9 minutes on Fists and on Eris Rail. So that puts me about like, 85th to 100th best time in the world. There are, I submitted to speedrun.com, but sometimes it takes about 3 weeks to be approved. So I think I know what I'm talking about, but I'm not like a top 10 player for Hades speedrunning or top 10 runner. He's using one of my favorite aspects or weapons. They're just called aspects in the game, and that's Demeter fists. Demeter fists are an unlock. You have to use Titan's blood to get it, and of the fist twin aspect. The reason Demeter fists are so good and Demeter fists are my fastest weapon is because you attack a bunch with the fists, and I think after 12 hits you get a charge special, and when it's called just an upper, and when you dash upper mobs or mini bosses or armored units, it just kind of one-shots things depending on what build you have. So there's two different ways you can go. The first build is called just Zap. It's Zeus attack, Athena, Aphrodite, Demeter, something special on something chunky on your special, and then Poseidon or like Passion Dash. So that's what I'll usually do when I'm playing Demeter Fists. I start with the Zeus keepsake. I put Zeus on attack. I pick up the first chunky special I see, whether that's Athena, Aphrodite, Artemis, or Demeter, like worst case scenario. And then I'll usually take Tidal Dash or Passion Dash and just kind of work my way from there. Maybe I get Sea Storm. Maybe you get Heart Rend. It just kind of depends on what happens with your build. Munchlax decided to not do that. He decided to do Merciful End. And I think if you're just going for in-game time, an in-game time run on any heat, I think Merciful End is probably the correct thing to do. It is technically the fastest possible build you could do for Demeter Fist in probably most aspects, because the Merciful End duo boon is so busted. The reason that I don't use it is because I just started transitioning to real time and all weapons and 3 weapons runs. And Merciful End, of the really good builds, is probably the least consistent build in Hades. And I have this text up on the screen just to kind of explain why. So, Merciful End requires 4 very specific components. You have to get them early. You can really only force one of them early. And then after you get those 4 components, you have to get good support boons to supplement it. So it's hard to put together. You have to put it together early. And then once you put it together, it's technically not good enough to carry you through to fast times unless you get other boons to support the damage you already have. But how it works is Merciful End, when you use an ability that deflects, it automatically pops the doom that is stacked on something. So what you do is you use Ares attack with the fists to stack doom, and then you either special or dash into them with an Athena boon, and it pops the doom. The reason doom is not great for speedrunning is because it takes so long to activate, and to get to the damage you need, you use something called impending doom, which is a support boon, that doubles the damage, or doesn't double it, but it increases your damage by a generous amount, but it takes longer to activate. Well, we don't really care about that with Merciful End, because if you have Athena on dash, and if you have Merciful End, it pops the doom right away, and you're zooming through rooms. The problem with Merciful End is that you also need these support boons, and the best ways to support Merciful End are either to grab Impending Doom, which is an Ares boon that just makes your doom do more damage, Or you take Artemis on cast or call, and you fish for this deadly reversal boon. What that does is when you use, I think it's either when you deflect or when you use an ability that deflects, you have a chance to crit. So now you're stacking Doom, you're dashing into things, things are blowing up, you're getting chances to crit, you're deflecting everything. So when it's all put together, it's really, really good. The problem is it sometimes doesn't come together, and sometimes it comes together too late. If you're putting this together in Elysium, you're already behind. But Munchlax decides to do that. I think it's right because in-game times you can just reset, do whatever you want. So let's just get started. But before we go in, you can see from his health bar that he's taking thick skin. I think this is incorrect. I think for speedrunning, you always take high confidence. What high confidence does is it cuts your health in half, but when you're over 80% health, you have a huge damage boost. So for speedrunning, as long as you finish the run, you're not necessarily concerned about living, right? You don't have to do a perfect run, which is where you have all your lives left at the end. You just have to win, right? So I think actually going for high confidence and just, being confident that you're going to stay alive and running into things and killing them quickly is the best way to go. So we'll start the video, and the video is not a great quality, but we'll see. So you can see that he's taking the Ares keepsake. This is definitely what you want to do, because when you take the Ares keepsake, you can force the first boon that you see to be Ares. It doesn't necessarily mean your first chamber is going to have an Ares, but if it doesn't have Ares, it'll have a hammer. But the first boon you see will be Ares, and it lets you get started. I know, Leo. It lets you get started on your build pretty much right away. Leo's been really needy, so I have to have him right here. So hit play, and then we'll get to see his heat. So he decides to do the run on 6 heat. I think this is fine. Technically, it's optimal to do 9 heat, and that's for a couple reasons. The first is this extreme measures. Once you beat the game, you have the option to, have packs of punishment, and it's considered heat, and every level of heat makes the game harder. So extreme measures makes your first 2 boss fights harder. What it does for the Fury fight is that instead of fighting 1 Fury, you fight all 3, and it gives it more health, so it takes a little bit longer. But what most people think makes it worth it is that the Extreme Measures 2, which is what you take for the Lerny fight, which is just the Bone Hydra fight, the heads spawn closer together. So if you were using a weapon like Fists or like Rail, the heads spawn closer together, and you can burst them down faster. So most people think you actually save time on the Lerny fight despite the Fury fight taking longer. The next thing you do is you take Forced Overtime 1 or 2. Munchlax is taking Forced Overtime 1. I actually think this is correct for speedrunning. Forced Overtime makes things spawn faster. So if you don't have any Forced Overtime, things are kind of spawning in slowly, and inherently your run will just be slower. Forced Overtime 2 does make them spawn in even faster than Forced Overtime 1, but it also makes them move faster, and it makes them attack faster. So I think Forced Overtime 1 is optimal for pretty much everything except for Gun, because Gun is just ridiculous and you're killing things before they get to touch you. But for Fists, if you take Forced Overtime 2 on Fists, I think 1, because it's a melee weapon and things move faster, there are enemies in the game designed to run away from you and survive. They run away really fast, right? So if you get to Asphodel and Elysium, sometimes they're running away too fast for you to catch up to them, and you lose time. The second reason is because things attack faster. So for some of the fights, Fists are really dangerous. They're just not a safe weapon at all. For some of these fights, things might kill you, right? So it just makes it dangerous. So I think Forced Overtime 1 is fine. I think 6 heat is fine. So we're going into the first chamber. For real time, you don't start it then. You start it as soon as you start moving. For the in-game timer, which is what this category is, the timer starts as soon as you have the ability to move. So we'll see he gets a first chamber Ares, which is pretty much what you want every time. First chamber hammer is fine, but it's not optimal. You definitely want Ares in your first chamber. So right here, just right at the beginning, kind of something goes wrong for him. You have to take this boon. You have to take Attack Inflicts Doom. For most runs with most weapons, it doesn't matter if this first boon you get for your core is common, right? You can see common is, I think, gray, epic is like purple, I think the rare is blue, I'm not really sure. But the one instance that this matters is for Merciful End, which is another reason that it's not a very consistent build. You can see that it does 50 doom damage when it's common. When it's epic, it does 100. So normally you never reroll for rarity or for like a different boon on your first one, right? But here, the difference between a common and epic boon is literally double your damage, right? And so that translates most of the time to double your clear time in some of these Tartarus rooms, which is where your run is really slow for Merciful End is at the beginning. So if it's me, I'm re-rolling for a rare epic Merciful End, or for a rare epic Curse of Agony. If I don't get it, I'm going to the next chamber, dying, and starting over, right? For me, it is not worth it to continue a run if you have a common Doom on attack. But he didn't know that, so he takes it, which is fine. So now he's just doing the basic attack pattern of attack, 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 dash attack. Attack, 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 dash attack. It's one of the reasons fists are so fast. He's stacking Doom on things and they're dying. So in his very first chamber, this is really good. He gets a Chaos Gate. It's nothing he did. It's kind of like the RNG part. But the good thing he did was take it. Each biome has a set number of chambers that you have to fight through. So the first biome, which is Tartarus, has 12 chambers you have to fight through. And then you get a shop, and then you get a boss. So Tartarus has 12, I think Asphodel has 6, Elysium has 8, and then Styx is whatever, it's RNG, right? But this is chamber 1. The next chamber he goes to is chamber 2. When you take a Chaos Gate, you don't have to fight through a chamber. It replaces a chamber, and it's like 1 second to get to the boon and 1 second to get out. So instead of like a 15-second chamber, you're taking a 2-second chamber. The only world where you don't take this Chaos Gate is when you're playing Merciful End, and this right here is in Athena. So this is just darkness, so it's really not going to hurt him at all to skip it. If this was Athena, you want to get your build together with Merciful End as fast as possible. It's actually better to skip this Chaos Gate and just go straight to the Athena. But it's not in Athena, so he makes the right play, and he just goes into the Chaos Gate. The way Chaos Gates work, if you don't know already, is they curse you to then a couple chambers later give you something good. So you see this one is for the next 3 standard encounters, you get minus dash, but after that, any darkness or gems you get are worth plus 76%. The worst possible thing to happen would be this halting eclipse if you took it. Because the things you want to avoid when you're speedrunning from Chaos are minus dash, minus movement speed, more foes, or hidden chambers. You almost never in any situation take any of those. So the first one isn't even an option. But what's interesting here is he has 2 pretty good options in Pauper's Lunge or Slippery Flourish. This epic boon is for the next 4. You can't earn money. He already has 100, so that's whatever. But afterward, his dash strike does plus 81% damage. The last one is for the next 4 encounters. You can't collect your cast. But after that, your special does plus 43% damage. I think both of these are correct. He ends up taking the middle one, which I think is fine. I would have taken Slippery Flourish. The good thing about it isn't as good as the second one, but not being able to collect coins means that if you see an Ares or an Athena in a shop, you can't buy it. So for every other build except Merciful End, I take this second one. But because it's Merciful End and I want to be able to buy my boons or get Athena or Ares as fast as possible, I take the last one. He ends up taking the second one, which is fine. It's just not optimal. Right? I think there's an argument to be made about the bottom one being optimal. So Chaos Gate, he's 9 seconds in, 2 chambers, that's pretty good. So he's attacking, that's fine. What he's doing is he's letting his Doom stack, and then he's not finishing off, he's just letting the Doom beat it. That's okay. So the one thing he did wrong here is he was fighting all the enemies up here. Enemies only spawn inside your field of view. So after he killed a wave, he immediately dashed down here, and now enemies are spawning in this corner. What you want to do every wave is just dash to like the closest corner or closest area that's next to your exits. So then instead of spawning down here, the enemies all spawn up here, and when the room ends, you can just dash to the exit that you want to go to. The next thing that he doesn't quite do correctly is that this is the worst case scenario, that things are spawning not next to either of your two exits, right? What you want to do when that happens is, instead of fighting toward the beginning of the chamber, you want to actually just dash straight here and then fight toward the exit of the room. So at the room ends, you collect the boon and you just dash to wherever you want to go. So two things that kind of could have been avoided. Either way, that was a pretty fast room. So there, you saw him pause. That's because pausing stops the in-game timer. That's why I prefer real-time runs, because decision-making, you know, it's one of the fast things you have to do. Almost always, I take the coins here, but you have to remember that he took the Chaos Boon that didn't let him take coins, so now he has to take max health. Despite already having 105 max health, it's pretty much overkill. Another thing he didn't see was this gold pot. But I guess that doesn't really matter, because he can't collect coins anyway. If he didn't take that Chaos Boon, speedrunners love gold pots, because the more gold you have, the more you get to control how fast your run goes. If he didn't have the Chaos Boon that doesn't let him collect it, I throw a cast at this gold pot and then immediately leave. The cast breaks the gold pot, and then you exit to the next chamber. Gets to the next chamber. So he sees enemies, stack doom, stack doom. He has the right idea, he's just kind of misplaying it. So this is where we kind of talked about his mechanics. You saw when it said cutter charged, that means that the next time that he uses a dash uppercut or a dash special on something, it's just going to get one shot. Like, it's just going to explode. But he didn't know that that was like the good part of Demeter Fists. So as you can see, he doesn't ever dash upper, and that actually kills his time. Right? He had a 14 time never pressing the B button. If he would have just used his dash upper at any point, it would be like an 11 or 12 minute run. He misses a gold pot again, but that's fine. So he goes to Zeus and he gets the fountain. One fountain, it's completely RNG, can spawn in every chamber. He got a fountain really early, which is actually the worst place you can see a fountain. As the chambers go on, they actually get longer. So you want as many, if you're going to get free rooms, you want as many of them as possible to be as late in the run as possible. But he gets it here. You have to pick up the boon. So he gets Zeus. Zeus is fine for a Merciful End build. But you can see he has the choice between Zeus Special, Zeus Dash, and Zeus Call. You cannot get anything on your special or dash other than Athena for Merciful End to work correctly. So he has to take Zeus Call, or he has to roll. I think rolling here is a terrible idea. I would just take the Zeus Call. And he knows how Merciful End works, so he makes the right decision. He takes Zeus Call, which is good. He goes to the fountain. This is where he makes a mistake. A lot of people, when you're first starting out, they want to dash back to where they came from, go all the way around, and then exit. What you should do is dash across this corner on the fountain, and then dash across this corner, and then just exit. So he loses like 3 or 4 seconds just going all the way around, when he could have just gone dash, dash, and go. He sees he has the options here. He pauses. You don't really need to pause here, but, I mean, it's still good. He has the option to get gems, which would have a mini-boss fight, or the buy. The mid-shop, which is just what we call a buy that's not the last buy in a biome, it can only be offered once. So there is no world here that he doesn't just take the shop. So I think he unpauses right away, takes the shop. That's really good. So this is what we were talking about, right? This is why I really would have taken the other Chaos Boon, because then he would have at least 150 or 200, maybe even 350, and if you have those, you buy both of these. You want as much areas as possible as early on in the run, and you want hammers for the Merciful End run. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough money to take either one of these, and something we talked about too was when you see that you have a mid-shop, as the screen is loading in, you just try to remember how much money you have. If he remembers that the only thing he can buy with 100 gold is a palm, he doesn't even have to walk over here and look. He can just dash and run by what's going on, just like run through the chamber, because in the buys, the in-game timer doesn't stop. He can just dash through, see the only thing he can buy is health, realize he's at full health, and then just go. So he loses 3 or 4 seconds here, not realizing how much money he has, or doesn't have. This is a really good room, right? He fights toward the exit. Doom pops that one, doesn't finish it off. He has a charged cutter here, but doesn't use it. So if he uses his charged cutter on this, they immediately get one shot and he can just leave. But as you can see, he just attacks, dash, attacks, dash, attacks, dash. So it takes 3 or 4 seconds longer than it needs to. I know it might sound silly that I'm saying it takes like 3 or 4 seconds longer than it needs to, but he's missed 3 or 4 seconds on every chamber so far, except for one. If you miss 3 seconds on 51 chambers, which is the fastest a run can go, that adds up, right? So that's like an amazing amount of time. So he goes through, that's fine, gets the max health. So he doesn't have a choice here, but we see Artemis. So if I'm playing Merciful End, right, and I see Artemis, and I already have Zeus Call, I am immediately thinking, because of this window, where is it? Because of this window, that I need Artemis cast. Because if I have Artemis cast, I can set up for Deadly Reversal. So we go to the mini-boss. 3 possible mini-bosses, and he gets the worst one. So, this is a support. He's using the best possible support. It's Meg. Meg will fire a line, perpendicular to Zagreus at the nearest enemy. This is a very hard Meg to hit, but at the beginning of this room, you just dash to it right in between them, face the door, Meg, and it comes across and hits both of them as they spawn. He does it late, but it actually ends up working out. So this is actually a really good Meg, but it's not one I've ever done before. He continues to just dash attack in and out, but he has a charged cutter. If he would just dash upper, these would die, and he'd be out of the room pretty much already. So good, he takes it. In-game timer stops. If this is a real-time run, I see True Shot, and I just take it. Right? You go to the next room. He's mashing, interact, just going. Next one is a key. Gives him a reroll. Good. Dash, 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 dash. He's just letting Doom finish him. That's really good. So this room, he actually does a really good job of staying over here. I would rather him finish this and come over here to keep enemies spawning there. You notice he's not using his dash upper, so these armored brutes, which are just the worst unit to see because there's a lot of waves of them and they take forever to kill, they're just living for way longer than they need to. Good. Gets the key. It might be tempting to take this trial, like this duo room over here, but you cannot get duo rooms from trials. So for that reason, and for the reason that they take a lot of time, when you're speedrunning, you will almost never take a trial room. Yep, so he doesn't even hesitate. He knows that this is a palm room, so if I'm running, I know immediately I'm going to get the palm, I'm going to put it in my Doom attack, because the Doom attack scales really well with palms, and I'm just going to go. Good. If he dash uppers any of these, they get one shot, right? Just dash upper right there, all 3 of them die, you can just move on. Pretty fast room, regardless. Yep, puts it in his attack, and he has hammer or palm. Palm is low priority since he already put one in, and hammer is super high priority. So that was a really good decision. Yep, attack these, let the Doom finish him off. You dash upper that one, it gets one shot. That was actually really good. Kills that one. He's staying. Yeah, see, now he's doing it where he's staying kind of over here, not letting things spawn on that side of the room. I would have rather him just dashed over to this corner to do that because he's over here. You saw this one spawned like over there. The other thing he's not doing is using his call on cooldown. In these beginning chambers, you are never going to have enough time to build your greater call, so you just pop it, especially with Zeus because it's an amazing amount of damage. He gets his first Daedalus Hammer. Daedalus Hammers, you get 2 every single run, right? 1 gets offered as early as Tartarus. 1 gets offered in Elysium. If you do not get the one in Tartarus, it will be offered in Asphodel, and if you don't take it in Asphodel, 2 of them will be offered in Elysium. But almost always, you want to get your hammers online as fast as possible. For Demeter Fists, the hammers you want to look for are Explosive Upper and Breaching Cross. If you don't get either one of those, Long Knuckle and Concentrated Knuckle are fine. Draining Cutter is whatever. And kind of as a meme, Kinetic Launcher is okay. So he's actually thinking about Kinetic Launcher, but since he doesn't have Explosive Upper, he takes Breaching Cross, which is actually a really, really good idea. Breaching Cross is just like what you're looking for. Yep, he sees Health or Demeter. You don't really want Demeter for this build, so he just takes the max health. And he sees a Chaos Gate. So this area on the floor, is a Chaos Gate, and this is actually the second instance that you don't take Chaos Gates, other than, when Athena is offered. So he makes a very good decision at the end of this room, still not using his dash upper, that's fine, but he makes a very good decision not to take the Chaos Gate, which I'll explain after the room's done. It's painful to watch the not using the dash upper, but he just didn't know. So he takes the max life. So now he pauses, right? Every single biome has that set number. And in Tartarus, there are 12 chambers. He has been counting, and he knows he's on chamber 12. And so no matter what happens, the next chamber is going to be this shop, which is the final level. If he takes this Chaos Gate, which is normally a very good idea, he actually just extends the entire run by one room. So taking a Chaos Gate in the last chamber before a mid-shop is a terrible idea and never worth it. So he realizes he's in chamber 12. He's either counting or he saw the shop icon. He pauses just to be like, wait, which chamber am I in? I've already taken the mid-shop. I just need to leave. So that was a really good decision. Most people would mess that up. He has the option to buy health, Poseidon, or a Palm. He has 163. I probably don't take Poseidon here because the only thing he can get from Poseidon's Hydraulic Might, and his attack, and he's not really worried about his attack doing damage. He's worried about the Doom on his attack doing damage. So I think you do buy the Palm here. Yeah, you buy the Palm and you put it to Curse of Agony. So if I have less than 155 gold, I don't buy this Palm. That is because whenever you are playing in between chambers, you look for things called Wells of Charon, and they give you the opportunity for 55 gold to buy a Chaos Gate. If I don't have enough money to get this Palm and have enough for a Chaos Gate in Asphodel, I don't take the Palm, because Chaos Gate to me is more important than doing the Fury fight a little bit faster. So he gets Electo. This is technically the fast Fury, the fastest Fury fight, because she has the least invuln phases, or the invuln phases take the least amount of time, but it's also the most dangerous, and it gets really scary if you're not used to playing it. He gets Electo. This is Extreme Measures Electo, so Meg is helping her. So what he does immediately here is he dashes up and starts hitting her. This is suboptimal, because what you have to do for a boss fight, not many boss fights because Meg's killed him right away, what you have to do for a boss fight is you plug them with a cast. So you use your cast, and he has 3 casts, right? He's using Infernal Soul. When you plug something with a cast, it takes an increased amount of damage from your attack and from your special. So if you don't plug a boss with a cast, you're actually just kind of, cutting your damage in half, which is what unfortunately happens. But other than that, he's putting Doom on her. He's dashing back and forth, trying not to get hit. This is fine. But now she's jumping around. She's doing damage. She's running away. If, for Electo and Meg, if you can do enough damage to put them in their invuln state, you can actually lock them in place. So doing not enough damage isn't just bad because it takes longer, it's bad because it allows them to run around. So after this invuln state, he should plug her with the cast and start hitting her. Now she's running around, Meg is hitting him with stuff, he's running into hitboxes. So now he has to play a little bit scared. He has a call charged, but he's not using it. This is all stuff I talk about with him. I'm not just trying to berate him, but it's all stuff that we talked about could be better with the gameplay. Right, now Electo's on this trap, so he can't really dash around into it. It's kind of weird. Other things are hitting him. He has to play safer because he doesn't have enough health. Now he's, worried about staying alive, so he's kind of missing. So just not plugging Electo with a cast kind of just, cascaded into all of these, terrible events for the run. He kills Electo, so he exits Tartarus in a time that is 3:32. When you are speedrunning, right, you are kind of pretty much aiming for a sub-10 time always, especially with Demeter Fists. To be on pace for a sub-10 time with Merciful End, at the end of Tartarus, you want to have at least Athena in your special or your dash and be out in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So for me, right here, I have a common Ares attack. I didn't see Athena, so now I have to force Athena and Asphodel. and I'm a minute behind, I just, I rip the run, right? So I go to the next magma, I sit in the magma, I die, and then I just start over. But he continues to run, which when you're first starting out, it's best just to fight through all of it. He didn't use a single dash cutter there too, or like a charged upper or whatever it's called. So that also hurt him. So he goes, uses the fountain. He doesn't have Athena, so he puts Athena on. Goes to the well, checks for a Chaos Gate. There's not a Chaos Gate. And he just goes straight to Asphodel. So that was really good. He sees Hermes. For me, when I'm going into a chamber, I see, oh, it's Hermes. I want more dashes, hyper sprint, or rush delivery. Right? So he goes, he's killing things. He does a really good job of just staying over here to make sure they all spawn over here. Stays toward the exit. Yep, that one comes to him. Only thing to be improved here is damage output. You dash cutter those as soon as they spawn, they're dead, and then you're already moving on to the next room. Nice. Probably if he used his call, it would have been a little bit faster. He takes Hermes, you take hyper sprint, rush delivery, or greatest reflex. He gets greatest reflex, takes it, and he's out. So right here, he's pausing, he's making a decision. I'm looking, he has 185 max health. That is more than enough health you need for a Demeter fist run if, you understand the mechanics of the weapon. So if it's me, I don't hesitate, I go straight to the palm. But, he thinks about it for a little bit, which is fine. You can pause and think as much as you need in an in-game time event. For real time, you just run straight to the palm and you're out. These are annoying, these armored units. I told him, I think armored units are super frustrating with Demeter Fist in the beginning, so I will actually plug just armored units with casts, just to kill them faster. So there, I dash upper both of them, probably one-shot one of them. But it's just taking a little bit of time because he doesn't know about the cast damage and doesn't know about dash uppering. He's not really using his call on cooldown, which is making it take longer. But overall, that was a decent chamber. You put it into your agony because, mid-shop, you almost always take the mid-shop. I think the only time I don't take a mid-shop is when I see a Eurydice, which is just a story room. Okay, so here, you have 125 gold. You can gamble and take a random boon and risk getting a bad boon but get stronger. You can take the health or you can take the slice. Here, I probably take the slice, especially because he doesn't have high confidence on. If he had high confidence on and he was low on health, I would take the health here. But because he doesn't have high confidence on, your health doesn't matter. Your health is just a resource. You don't need it to be above a certain threshold. If you die, who cares, right? You have 4 more lives, or you have 3 more lives left to beat Hades, and a chance to get all of them back. So we'll see. He takes the health and the slice. I think that's fine. So he sees Athena, finally. So now, at the end of this fight, he can put Athena in his special. So if I didn't already end the run earlier, I end it here. This is the Barge of Death. This is the worst possible mini-boss, pretty much other than Tiny Vermin in an entire run, that you could possibly see. And you only have a 33% chance of seeing it every run. The other 2 mini-bosses in Asphodel are the Power Couple and the Witch Room, and both of them are super fast. Those, on average, take between 5 and, at the very top end, 15 seconds. I have never had a barge last less than 20 seconds. The reason barge is bad is you have to wait for this animation, the in-game timer's going, things don't spawn for 9, 10 seconds, you get 3 waves of enemies, some of them give each other invuln, the other ones drop bombs and explode on you. You saw how the invuln, this made this one, these crystals make things invulnerable to damage, so this one just tanks damage forever. There you go. That was the second wave. He's got another one. So mini-boss rooms are usually free because of Meg. They're your fastest rooms. They take... The Butterfly Ball takes like 3 seconds. That's like the best one. And the Giant Crystal takes 3 seconds. The Barge of Death takes 30. Gets the Athena boon. You put it in special. Yep. Puts it in special. So now that he has Ares attack and Athena special, he has set himself up to actually get Merciful End, which is what he needs. And so despite having a really bad Tartarus, he gets pretty lucky and actually ends up getting Merciful End by the time he's in Asphodel. But one of the reasons Merciful End is bad, or not bad, is inconsistent, is because getting Merciful End isn't the end of it. You have to have Athena dash to play it optimally, and you should have dash cuttered there, and you have to get the support boons. So just doing all this work to get Merciful End isn't enough, because it just hasn't come online fast enough. This is kind of a sloppy fight, but he does okay. I have sloppy fights all the time. So he has Ares, and now you have the choice between just taking one of these random boons or re-rolling for Merciful End. I think you always re-roll here for it, even though Urge to Kill is tempting. Yeah, re-rolls, doesn't get punished, he gets Merciful End. So now his build is almost online. Sees that story room, you almost always, I think actually just always take those, because they stop this in-game timer. For in-game runs, you always take the story rooms. Real time, I think buys are faster. So, he has the option between these three right here. This bottom one would make it easier to see like a legendary boon, but he already has it. If he didn't already have Merciful End, he definitely takes this bottom one. The Palm Porridge just gives you, one palm or one level on 4 boons, which is always the safe choice. This Ambrosia Delight, it increases the rarity of one of your boons. I think this is actually the rare instance where Ambrosia Delight is the safest pick, because he has the common plus Dash's Hermes boon, and he has a common attack. Ambrosia Delight hitting anything in his build right here is really, really good. Even if in like worst case scenario, I don't know what it hits. It hits Artemis Cast and the Call, like the common Call. That's still a significant amount of damage, because he should be using Cast a lot in this build. So I would go with Ambrosia here. He takes Palm Porridge, which is fine. It's really safe, but it is suboptimal. He can take as much time as he needs here, because as I said, this in-game timer is stopped. So it hits, all of his core boons. Pretty good. Fine. That was his last chamber. Seeing Eurydices in chamber 22 is the best case scenario. So he got really lucky here. So he's going, doesn't have enough money for anything. If he would have known how much gold he had, he would have known the only thing he could buy is a palm, run through, see no palm, go. This is the Lerny fight. This is the extreme measures one. This is kind of yikes. So immediately what he does is he runs up and starts dash attacking it. It's not what you want to do. You want to fire your cast. You don't even have to aim it, because the Artemis cast that he picked up crits most of the time and just seeks it out. So he can just mash the cast button as soon as he's in there and then dash. So what he's doing is he's attacking with fists and then using his special to pop the Merciful End, which, as you can see, is pretty slow. And that's why you need Athena dash, because instead of just like waiting to do the cutter animation, he could just be dashing back and forth, stacking 3 or 4 doom and hitting him. So the reason the Lerny fight is good is because these heads all spawn closer together. So what you want to do is wait until in this situation, you wait until these 2 heads are right next to each other, and then you just kind of like dash back and forth, applying doom and popping it to both of them. But instead, he kind of starts attacking him, forces this one to get over here. But he pops doom on it, actually uses the cutter, pretty good there. Now, in between phases, you plug him with another cast, just in case it fell out. You dash away from the head bonk. You use this call on cooldown, because if you use the call, he's already phased it and doesn't take that head bonk. Here again, you wait for these 2 heads or these 2 heads to be close to each other and kill them both. He doesn't do that. That's kind of fine. But really, because this is really good. Popping the call, get in there, pop a call, good. Up until that scenario, it actually would have been worth it for him to just take extreme measure or no extreme measures, because he wasn't taking advantage of why the call was good, or why learning was good. He uses a Meg here, and this is not like something to laugh at all. First of all, I never use, that's not true. I typically don't use Meg on the Hydra because it's so fast, but he makes a really, really common mistake, which is nothing to be ashamed of, is he uses Meg too early. If you use Meg too early on the Lerny fight, it doesn't register an enemy if he's still invulnerable. So what happens is it didn't register. He was standing over here. He Megged over here and he just missed. I do that all the time. He could be using his dash cutter. He does use his call, but he takes too long to kill him, takes a head bonk, takes a life, and that's just kind of the end of the Lerny fight. So You want to be out of Tartarus in 2:30. You want to be out of Asphodel in 5. So he's about a minute and 55 behind right now, but that is almost entirely just due to the, kind of the mechanic stuff we talked about. His decision-making hasn't been bad at all, really. You can tell he has, a lot of knowledge on Merciful End and a lot of, basic speedrunning knowledge. So his decision-making is actually very good. It's just a few mechanical things with the fist that he didn't know. So here, a couple options. He's already taken a call, so he can't take Hades' keepsake. So I go for Acorn. Yep, he goes for Acorn just to live. He can't afford another life. What he could have done was check that to see if he could purge one of his boons, but all of his boons are pretty good. You might be able to purge Zeus Call, but he's chilling. He's going into Elysium, and now he wants his second hammer as fast as possible. Yep. He sees the hammer, and so here, since you already have Breaching Cross, you're praying for Explosive Upper. Hi, buddy. Elysium units are so much stronger than the other units that if you're in Elysium and you're fighting in these first couple chambers and it's taking you a while, this is kind of when you know that your build is not put together yet. Good, he's staying by the doors, killing things. He's checking the ground for Chaos Gates and Wells of Charon, doesn't see any. So he knows as soon as this room is over, he can dash toward the door, and as soon as he picks up his boon, he can just leave. Or as soon as he picks up his hammer, he can just leave. What are you doing there? You gotta stop this, buddy. Yeah, that room was just slow because of the build. So, this is where the first thing that I would actually consider, a pretty big mistake in the run is he has the option to get a meme hammer or the best possible hammer in the entire game, but he just didn't know. And I talked to him. He just didn't know that this was so good, right? And Kinetic Launcher is really tempting. Kinetic Launcher is not bad, but it's not good. And Explosive Upper is really good. He just, didn't know that dash uppering was so crucial. So it was not like a bad mistake. It was just he didn't know. A lot of people are tempted to take Rush Kick. Rush Kick seems like it would be good because, that would do 80 damage and Kinetic Launcher does 50. But Rush Kick with the Demeter Fist, for some reason, just doesn't function correctly. You don't get 2 instances of, the fully charged kick. It just doesn't work, which is why you don't take it. It's not because it's bad. It just doesn't function. So he takes Kinetic Launcher instead of Explosive Upper, which sucks. He has 128 gold already, but he has a bunch of max health. I would just take the gold and leave. Yep. More gold you have, the better for speedrunning. Almost always. He gets the Unarmored Witches. These are one of the worst units to see because, 1, they run away. 2, they can do damage if you caught you off guard. And because they're not armored, more waves of them spawn. You pretty much want to see armored units whatever possible, except for the armored brutes in Tartarus. So we're seeing he's trying to pop Merciful End. He's trying to kill stuff. He gets bad units. He doesn't pop his call right away. Despite getting really bad units for the room, he clears it pretty fast. So he has Ares and Coin. You definitely take Ares here. There's no reason not to. Because now that Merciful End's online, you're searching for your support boons, which are Dire Misfortune and Impending Doom. He gets a Fountain Room, which is very lucky. I would take Dire Misfortune here. Actually, I would probably have rolled for Impending Doom there. So he has a Palm and Zeus. I think this is incorrect. Yes, palming the Ares attack is good, but palms have diminishing returns, and he's already palmed it 5 times. I take Zeus because you already have the Zeus call, and if you take Zeus here, you have the option for Billowing Strength, Double Strike, or Jolted, which would effectively double the amount of damage and double his clear time. But he didn't know that, and he gets probably the second worst unit, which is the Armored Shield Bearers. They can't take damage from the front, so you have to go out of your way to kill them. If you have Dash Upper and Explosive Upper, you can just run at them and uppercut them and they die, but he didn't know that. But overall, his mechanics are pretty decent. He's playing pretty well. Yep. Hunts it down, kills it, pops the Doom. He runs toward the door this time, so he did know that. But you gotta kill the stuff that makes things invulnerable first. These Armored Chariots kill most people. They're pretty yikes, but if you use your call on cooldown, it's pretty good. That was a very fast room, so he did a really good job. I don't know about doing the upper there. This is a very tough decision. If I'm in real time, there's an argument to be made for taking the mid shop, because in real time, the mid shop is faster than Patty. But for in-game time, you always take Patty. So here is kind of tricky. So you have 3 options. He can either get one of his lives back, which is safe. He can get Hydrolite Gold, which ends up being the safest because of the amount you heal. It's more than like 1 life total, pretty much, with the amount of life he has. Or you can take Cyclops Jerky. Here, I take Kiss of Sticks Premium just so I don't have to worry about losing lives, and I don't have high confidence if I'm him, right? If you have high confidence on, you say, I can kill Hades in 3 lives, ignore this, and you take Hydrolite Gold, which heals you every chamber, to keep your health above that threshold where you deal more damage. So that's what I would do if I have high confidence on. Cyclops Jerky is super tempting, but something to remember with Cyclops Jerky and this specific build is that with this build, you're not actually doing damage with your attack. You're doing damage with the Doom on your attack. So taking Cyclops Jerky actually doesn't increase your damage that much. So he takes Hydrolite. It's safe, but kind of moot because he doesn't have... safe but kind of moot because he doesn't have high confidence. He takes the Ares here, and he does the Butterfly Ball pretty fast. Normally it's faster, but it was kind of awkward with the uppers. He took Ares here because he doesn't have Impending Doom. He took Dire Misfortune earlier. I would have re-rolled into Impending Doom and then taken the Artemis from the other room to try to get Deadly Reversal. But he does get Impending Doom here, so his build is almost online. Now what he needs is Athena Dash. He takes Hermes here, which I think is correct. You look for Hyper Sprint or Rush Delivery. Earlier, we said that the unarmored witches are like the worst units to see. Armored witches are pretty good. Just because they have armor, less of them spawn. It's like that there's like flame wheels, like the little tiny exploding chariots, are awful to see. Armored flame wheels, really good to see, because just because they have armor, less of them spawn. And if you have Athena Dash, you can just dash into them and die. Here, yep. You gotta kill the thing that makes things impervious first. Good. Runs into a trap, that's fine. Purple arrows will kill people, like they'll kill you, but don't be afraid of them. Most of the time, if you're like hyper aware of what's going on, you can just dash around them. It takes a lot of damage from that witch, but overall, pretty fast room. His Elysium time is pretty good. You either take Flurry Cast or Hyper Sprint here. I think Hyper Sprint, but if you have the actually no, you just take Hyper Sprint there. Let's go back. So this is a bad decision that ends up being a good one. So he has a choice between a trial room or health. The trial rooms for almost every situation in speedrunning are scary because they take a lot of time. For real time, you have to go through like 2 dialogue scenes. And literally they just take a lot of time. But for his build to actually be functional, he has to have Athena Dash. So this is one of the last times he can actually be offered Athena before Styx, where his build really needs to be online or else he'll die to Hades. So this actually ends up being the correct choice because he has to get Dash from Athena. So he takes the slower option. One more thing that he didn't do, just to go back a little bit, I don't think he could even see it, is there's a Well of Charon right here. You always, always, always check wells for Chaos Gates. And he just didn't do that. Or, anything else good. He has 403 coin. He could get, increased damage, increased move speed, health, anything like that. So that's the other thing. I don't think I've seen a well, like, in his vision. But you pretty much just want to be aware of where are my Chaos Gates in my room and where are my wells. Takes Athena, gets the dash. It's just common, but that doesn't matter. You're not using the dash to do damage. You're using dash to pop the doom from your attack. Makes Ares mad. These are fine units to get. Worst case scenario for these, you get the armored shield bearers. He gets the armored spearmen. Best case scenario, you get armored witches, which happens a lot in Elysium. I think he gets like 1 shield bearer, but he kills it pretty quickly. Overall, this was a scary decision, but he actually clears it really fast. So he does know how to play around Merciful End, which is something to be commended about his gameplay because most people don't really know how to play around it. His Merciful End mechanics are actually pretty good. You take Urge to Kill here, or Blood Frenzy. You could take Blood Frenzy. Those last chamber, take the shot. Yep. So now you're thinking I have 420, I can buy whatever. You buy the... Oh, you definitely buy Zeus there. Because like I said, Zeus... If you take the Zeus earlier and you take that Zeus, at this point you could have, like, Billowing Strength, Zeus Legendary, crazy stuff. You could have Jolted, which is, like, quadruple your damage. It's wild. For this fight, he lands his Meg. It's not, like... It's, like, the best bad Meg. It's not bad. It still hits. But it's just not optimal. What you do here as soon as this starts is if you're playing on controller, you press up on the D-pad, not the analog stick. You press up on the D-pad, you Meg right away, you turn, you put a cast into Asterius, and then you just start beating the shit out of both of them, right? So if he had taken that Artemis Chamber earlier and gotten Deadly Reversal, he'd have Deadly Reversal be good. If not, he had the option to get Hunter's Mark. And Hunter's Mark is when he crits something with his cast, the other one gets this mark that makes them more susceptible to critical damage. And for the Theseus Minotaur fight, you can just keep trading the mark back and forth, and it's crazy how much faster it makes you run. So Meg cast, doesn't cast. This Meg is actually fine. It hits both of them, so it's actually pretty good. But he doesn't have a cast in either one, so he's kind of like halved his damage. Here, so this, when Theseus is summoning the god powers, that's your window to kill him. If you don't kill him in this window, the fight gets significantly longer. I was going to say he wasn't using his call, but he called, so that's pretty good. If he had a cast into Theseus, Theseus would be dead already. But it's fine because he has Merciful End, and he gets Theseus. So now you put a cast in the Minotaur, and you beat him up, you use the call on cooldown, you hit your dash uppers. This is just taking long because he didn't put a cast in him. And isn't using his upper, but it's okay. I suspect in the next few days he's going to have like a sub 12 run, just from knowing what he knows. You want to be out of Elysium in 7:30 for a sub 10 run, and he's at 10:53, so he's not going to get a sub 10 run, obviously, but if he has a good Styx, which he ends up having a very good Styx, he's fine. He takes... See, I don't like this. And I yelled at him for this. He takes... Go ahead. Go. He switches his Keepsake, and I thought he was going to switch it. I thought he was going to switch it to Lucky Tooth. Lucky Tooth gives you another life. There's an argument to be made for that. Acorn is only really good if you have high confidence, because if you go into a boss fight with full health, you do a ton of damage until they hit you 5 times. Right? Lucky Tooth is just as good as Acorn for no high confidence, depending on your max health, depending on how much life you come back with. Do you have the Athena boons? But he switches it to Spear, and so this was kind of common, I think, before I started playing the game, where the Spear point, once you take damage, you're immune to damage for like a second and a half. So what people do is they get scared of the poison, and so they take the Spear point in Styx to avoid dying to poison. If your build is online, which Merciful End is, you don't care about poison at all because you're killing things so fast that poison doesn't hurt you. This, I think, might be a good choice over Acorn if you don't have high confidence on, and you just want to ensure that you don't have to worry about poison at all. Because once you get ticked by poison, it takes a second and a half, for the other poison to get you, and with Merciful End, you're killing 3 units in a second and a half. So he takes Spear Point, but in my opinion, does not play around it correctly. Here, you can't look for a Chaos Gate. You just, if it's me, I just buy everything because I had 370 gold. But we're going. This is the last possible chamber. The way this works is that there are 5 chambers on the left. He has 5 chances to get an item. It will likely happen in 2 or 3, but on the off, there's an off chance that it happens in 4 or 5. That's like, when it happens in 5, it's called a 5 sack. The fastest runs in the world are all 2 sacks. So, he looks, and the chambers that have the mini-boss symbol under them are always going to be the fastest, and you always take them first. The worst possible thing that could happen is Tiny Vermin, and it is faster to kill Tiny Vermin than it is to take a non-boss room in Styx. So even worst case scenario, you get Tiny Vermin, which he does not. It's still faster than taking the other one. I agree with taking Zeus here because you already have enough health. Gets the gold pot. Stacks Doom, dashes into something, stacks Doom, dashes into it, he's out. Right? His Merciful End build is online. His Doom has like 12 palms in it, so he's chilling. Gets the gold pots, puts Doom into stuff. That chamber was so fast. Those are the kind of chambers you want. These are the kind of chambers you want. Everything's grouped up. You just hit them and dash into them. Unfortunately, he didn't kill that other pot, but he can just kill it on the way back. Yep. Nice. Bam, bam, bam. These little tiny rats suck because you can't control how fast they spawn. They're the worst possible enemy to see in the sticks rooms, but he gets them. Okay, big rat. As soon as you see this room setup, there's only one mini boss you can get, and it's big rat. Big rat is the second worst one you can get because it takes forever, and timing the meg is kind of weird. What you do is you go to the other side of this pillar, you look left or right, and you meg a little bit after he comes out of the ground, and the meg will hit him. He has breaching cross, he can dash strike it twice and kill its armor. He doesn't do that. He does a very delayed meg, and then he dashes away. So if he would have done the meg correctly and dashed into it twice, this armor would already be gone, and he's like a dash attack away from killing it. Because he doesn't do that, it still has armor. He dashes away without hitting it. I'm not sure why I paused there. I think something came up. It does poison, and this is what I was talking about earlier. So he gets poisoned. The spear point protects him from a little bit of poison, but he gets scared and back and goes and cures the poison anyway. I think if you're going to take spear point, you definitely just tank the poison damage. Like, you don't care. You're ignoring a second and a half of it every 7 seconds it happens, right? So you just tank the damage. And I think because of his damage output, he would have ended up killing it fast enough anyway. There, you just dash up or the pot. You don't really care. But, you know, if one of your first times recording, you get nervous, you're not sure what to do. Here, high voltage is the only bad option. I take billowing strength because I'm the kind of person who just uses call on cooldown, and so you are guaranteed a 22% always damage boost. When you buy a palm later, it goes up to like 50. Double strike is fine. If you are going to get another Zeus boon, double strike and the call, no, I don't think it sets up for billowing strength. But so or it doesn't set up for the Zeus legendary. I think billowing strength is the only correct choice here. Double strike is fine. So now, you don't even look at the shop, you go, you know exactly where the other mini-boss room was. He forgot, but you just dash straight there and go in. Yep, you do this. You have Demeter Fist, so you can just dash into the gold pot and get out. Yep, good. A little bit faster, would have lost no time, but it's fine. I think it's correct to actually cure the poison there. I don't know about that one, I would just kill everything. Tiny rats again, which sucks. Nothing he could do about it. Just got unlucky. You see how all of his other chambers were fast and that he had just like waste time dashing around? I hate when that happens to me. Big rat again. Scary. Yep, he's doing this really well. This is really, really good. Colt doesn't care about the poison. He says if I kill it fast, it's dead. I'm good. Good. So he got a 2-sack. So best possible RNG you could get. The only thing that would be better is he didn't get his big vermin fight for the mini-boss. You want, like, Big Satyr or, like, the Urn. You want, in my opinion, you want Big Satyr or the Urn. You just don't want Tiny Vermin, you don't want Big Vermin. So what he does there is he walks around the fountain after taking it instead of just dashing through it. It's only, like, 1 second, but if you save a second to chamber, you save almost a minute. Here, okay, so, debate. There's debate here about what you should do. He has 579 gold. I personally just run straight to Hades and beat him up because I have Merciful End and it's super fast and it's free, right? If you are going to go to the shop, you either get this Hermes boon and you pick up Rush Delivery because you already have Hyper Sprint. His Hyper Sprint was like, it was common, but he got 100% movement speed every time he dashed. He has 3 dashes. Rush Delivery gives you extra bonus damage per movement speed buff. So every single time he dashes, he's doing like a crazy amount of damage, and he's dashing a lot because Merciful End. You either get the Hermes or you get a big palm and you get Zeus, right? To just try to pick up Billowing Strength because you didn't pick it up before. I think he gets the big palm, which is fine, and you put it in Impending Doom, that's good. and then he takes the health instead of Zeus. He might have just been like, I'm on good time, I'm on PB pace, I just want to ensure that I live. That's fine. I personally am kind of more unga bunga when I play this game, so I would have taken Zeus, been like, give me billowing strength, I'm mashing my call, I'm running into Hades, I'm dying a lot, but he dies faster, everyone's having a good time. You want to be entering the Hades fight usually at around 9 minutes if you want a sub 10 time. Probably like 8:58 is like optimal. You just assume, with a good weapon, you assume Hades takes like 45, 50 seconds. Sometimes it'll just take a minute. He doesn't have the ability to use Meg here, but normally you would. But he actually does enough damage with Merciful End to avoid the darkness phase, and he puts him in his invuln phase. Good. Yeah, you just damage Hades here. You plug Hades with a cast. Because he didn't plug Hades with a cast, he gets a darkness phase, and that just takes away from your time. Good, he deflects it. Plug him with a cast, and you invuln him again. Okay, I talked to him about this. What you want to do is you want to use your call just on cooldown, right? With Zeus call, there's not really a reason to build a greater call. If you're going to build a greater call, this is the absolute worst time to do it. I do it all the time. Is you're just like, I want to do as much damage as possible, and then he's invuln, and then you accidentally use your greater call, so you lose like 80% of it, and he doesn't take any of the damage. Super common mistake. I do it all the time. When one of the really good speedrunners was doing a VOD review of someone, they did the exact same thing. Nothing to be like ashamed of, it's just something to keep in mind. Hades is beating him up. He should be dashing into Hades instead of dashing away from Hades. Good, good, good. Unfortunately, gets that awful darkness phase when he's like 2 health. The Athena dash hits him. That was just unlucky. But had he used the charge cutter, it would not have been a thing. Right there, you want to dash cast to plug him with a cast. Here, you want to dash upper him in the back while he's not looking at you. That vase is scary. It's going to kill him. I think it's going to end up with him being dead. Here, he does the correct thing where he's dashing back and forth. Unfortunately, he dies. Doesn't matter for in-game time as long as you win, because dying stops the timer. Good. If he's using his dash upper, that's fine. It was good not to use the call there. Now he should be using the call. Right here. Oh, what happened? Let's go back a little bit. Okay, right here, what he does, and this is the way a lot of people learn to play the game when you learn this fight, is he dashes behind this pillar to avoid dying to Hades, which is fine, except if you're speedrunning. When you're speedrunning, in no extreme measures Hades, this area immediately on top of him does not pulse out damage. Damage only comes on this outer ring. He has a greater call. He has chunky specials. All he has to do to save like 10 seconds is dash into Hades, use his greater call, and just mash the special button and kill Hades really fast. He didn't know that, so instead he comes over here. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, now he uses the call. This is good. Then he just kills Hades. It's free. Oh, misses once. It's fine. End game time of 14-14. So, once again, shout out to Munchlax. I really, really enjoyed doing this. This is just me doing it again while he's not here. But everything that happened, I told him. He explained more of his reasoning. He is a very, he has a lot of knowledge about the game. I had a lot of knowledge about Merciful End. He was just missing a few of the speed running tips and tricks. I suspect that he is going to start posting sub 12, sub 11 times here, in the next week as he gets more practice. If you want me to do this for one of your Hades VODs, I'd be more than happy to. I don't have to put it on YouTube. I don't have to record it. We can just hop in a call and I can do it. But for my first one, I wanted to actually try putting it on YouTube. Just reach out to me, twitch.tv/Professor Timbo or @Professor Timbo on Twitter.